Congratulations. The October Labor Lottery is complete. Your name was pulled. For immediate placement, report to the Ministry of Admission at the Greston Border Checkpoint. An apartment will be provided for you and your family in East Greston. Expect a Class 8 dwelling. Glory to Arstotzka. Papers, Please is a game in which you play as a border checker in a fictional communist European country during a fictional version of the Cold War. It is your job to check everyone's passport and other paperwork required to enter the country, upon which you will decide whether to approve or deny their passport. This choice, of course, hinges on whether or not they have the proper paperwork to begin with, and what is required of them is seen in your rulebook and changes from day to day. For example, at the beginning, all you need to do is reject everyone who is foreign. However, this changes as the game goes on. Soon you need to see ID cards from citizens, entry permits from foreigners, then you also need to see work permits, diplomatic authorization, asylum grants, or sometimes you just need to reject all citizens from a particular country. This gets to the point where they begin handing you 4 or 6 documents at a time, each of which have to be thoroughly inspected for any discrepancies or inconsistencies, because just one can result in them getting rejected from the country. Your job is not only to find these discrepancies, but also highlight and interrogate the individual about them. Take, for example, this incident where the man spelled his name differently on the entry permit versus the passport. You then have to take his fingerprints, see if they match up with the one he gives you, and if it says that he has an alias. If this is the case, then he is green to pass through and the discrepancy is cleared, which allows you to let him into the country. If you miss one of these discrepancies or choose to overlook them, you receive a citation and lose some of your salary for that day. This means that you will have less money to take care of you and your family that night. This gameplay mechanic is interesting and helpful because it provides the insight on the true brilliance of the game. When people come to the checkpoint with their papers, they have a story and a reason for wanting to come in. And you play a pivotal role in all of their stories, some smaller than others, some bigger than others. For example, there is one day where a woman without proper papers is fleeing execution from her own country. It is your decision as to whether or not you decide to let her in and reunite her with her husband, as well as save her from execution, or to reject her and leave her to her fate. But you must keep in mind that whatever you choose will affect how much you get paid at the end of the day, which decides how much you're able to feed and provide for your family that night. So you have a moral choice to make: save yourself or save the woman. This game also throws in other events that affect the story, such as terrorist attacks, wanted criminals, and government investigations, all of which add context to help you become absorbed in a bigger world. This gameplay and story lead to an understanding of how the real world works at times. It teaches that sometimes when one's duty and loyalty to their own interests can take precedent over what is considered the right thing to do. However, you could also consider looking out for your family above all else to be the right thing to do. It shows that games, even simple indie titles like Papers, Please, can make you think and learn lessons and values. This game is one of my favorite examples of an argument against people who believe that video games serve no purpose and nothing can be gained by experiencing them. When people argue that video games are a bad influence or don't have any value, they only ever target the violent and vulgar ones, which have no intended value beyond power fantasy or something like that. They ignore games like Papers, Please, which does give the player power, just a different kind. Makes you feel like a pivotal obstacle in the stories of many people's lives. You decide where their story will take them next, and it's not always a positive direction. There is value in experiencing a situation with this type of context, understanding that other people may be in a situation as bad as, or even worse than yours, then being forced to make a decision on whether it will get better or worse. It can aid one's perspective of context in the real world. And that is a good basis for how games can teach us.